This might be one of the most confusing launches that I have ever seen from a running brand, but this shoe is pretty awesome. Today, we're reviewing the Asics Megablast. What's up everybody, I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and you're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. If it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may notice some timestamps below, so feel free to jump around to the various parts of this video, but if you do so, I would sure appreciate if you come back, watch the full thing when you get a sec, so I put a lot of time and effort into these. Now, quick disclaimers and disclosures. For this video in particular, I'm going to say there are none about the shoe. I purchased this with my own money. That being said, I do want to disclose that Asics has sent me shoes before in the past. And whenever they have, by the way, I'm not paid. You know, I'm not obligated or asked to make any specific content. No one watches my videos beforehand, maybe at all, frankly, but all thoughts are entirely my own. So let's talk about the intended use of this shoe though, because that is, I think, what's throwing everybody off, right? From the specs, and we'll go over those, from the specs, this is a up-tempo trainer. Like, I'm just going to call that out. From the specs, this is an up-tempo trainer. Whether they market it that way or not, that's kind of what it is. Now, I kind of go back and forth with it though, because the price point tells me that this is actually more of a super trainer, right? Kind of hand in hand with the Superblast. And I will do a full comparison of those two, by the way. It will probably come out a day or two after this. But for the sake of today's video, we're going to say it's kind of a do-it-all trainer, and we'll talk about why or what, but really, like, from a specs perspective, this is going to be an up-tempo lightweight trainer, right? So the price point for the shoe comes in at $225. Frankly, again, if they had just taken this shoe and priced it at $150, I don't think there would be any question about what the shoe is for. There has traditionally been a little bit of a gap in Asics' lineup as of late, where you have the Novablast, that's kind of your more standard daily trainer, but it's always had a slightly livelier foam for a daily trainer. So some people are like, oh, well, that's like, you know, an up-tempo trainer category shoe, but it's always been a little bit heavier than others in category. So there was this gap where this shoe kind of fits in and slots in nicely there. But then you have your Sonic Blast, which is the plated trainer, the Superblast, which is the super trainer, and then the Metaspeed series, which are your super shoes, your race day shoes, and then there's the Magic Speed as well, which is going to be another plated trainer option. So if not for the price, I think we would all be calling this an up-tempo lightweight trainer, lightweight up-tempo trainer, whatever, just lightweight trainer. And again, reason why, when we look at the specs, the shoe comes in at 7.8 ounces, which translates to 221 grams. That is around the same weight, for reference, as the Rebel V5, the Evo SL, and the Tier Maverick Runner. All lightweight trainers, all up-tempo trainers. The shoe is lighter than the Novablast, lighter than the Superblast. So again, I think if we ignore the price and we just look at specs, this is actually a lightweight up-tempo trainer, right? The other specs to look at are the heel and the forefoot. So we're looking at 45 in the heel, 37 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. And yeah, that's kind of where the shoe is going to come in from a specs perspective, right? From a fit perspective, I would say that the shoe does fit true to size. I would go with your standard length. And then from there, I would say that the heel fits, you know, standard to wide foot friendly. Midfoot wise, I also think like standard to wide foot friendly. And then the toe box actually does taper in a little bit. I'm not going to say it's full narrow, but it does have a noticeable taper. And so just kind of keep that in mind. But for the most part, I feel like many Asics shoes, these shoes are wide foot friendly. Going to be a little bit wider and more accommodating in the upper than the Superblast counterpart, right? Moving to that upper, we have an engineered mesh, right? And this engineered mesh is a little bit more race-like, a little bit more breathable, a little bit more maybe even transparent. You can maybe see my hand in there right now. I can't tell from that angle if you can see it, but it definitely looks like a little bit more streamlined upper. Now, I feel like the upper fits a little bit baggy in that midfoot area, where I feel like, you know, when I lace up the shoes, you get a little bit of bunching right there at the top of the toe box, but it's nothing that has caused me any irritation or annoyance. You also have a gusseted tongue, and it is kind of a thin race-like tongue. And then you have kind of, a lot of shoes are doing this, but really traditional padding in the heel, and then the upper kind of comes up and gives it a little bit more of a, you know, again, race-looking vibe here with the heel pull tab. Overall, I do feel like the upper is breathable. I feel like I get pretty good lockdown overall. But I would say that the upper is maybe the weak point of the shoe for me. It's not my favorite lockdown, but it is breathable and it is very lightweight, which I appreciate. And like I said, for the most part, you still get some good lockdown. The other thing to call out is you do have these premium kind of ribbed laces that you traditionally only find in race-oriented shoes across a lot of brands. These are some of my favorite style of laces. I just think they work really, really well. They tend to give you some good lockdown overall. So that's the upper of the Megablast. Where the magic of the shoe actually happens, though, is this new FF Turbo squared foam, right? This is a supercritical ATPU. So a lot of brands, as we innovate with foams here, are moving away from PEBA-based foams. PEBA for a long time, realistically not that long, but PEBA basically since the introduction of like the Nike Vaporfly style line, right? The PEBA has been at the forefront of performance shoes since then, but we're now seeing brands like Asics, like Puma, like Saucony, Adidas. A lot of them are moving away from PEBA and moving towards TPEE or ATPU, right? They're supposed to be a little bit more durable, supposed to be a little bit better in a variety of different temperatures, supposed to be even more responsive at lighter weights. And let me tell you, again, the shoe is light for 45 millimeters of stack. For the most part, ATPU foams, they're going to be light, they're going to be soft on foot, but when you feel them, they're not like mushy. It's not a really, really squishy foam where you stand and you feel like you're standing on like a foam pad trying to balance or anything like that. But as you run in them, they don't like readily just really, really squish down. They do compress, but there is some sense of structure and firmness. As such, the shoes, depending on the geometry of the base, right, are going to be fairly stable, and that is the case with the Megablast, right? I do feel like it's a fairly stable ride overall. I don't feel like many people are going to have major issues with it, right? The other thing with these foams is they are sneaky fast, right? So they don't pop off the ground necessarily like some PEBA foams do, and at least in my opinion. If you put a carbon fiber plate in them, yes, you get a little bit more snap, but I don't feel like naturally these foams are just going to pop off the ground, but the energy return that they give is really, really evident when you look down at your watch and you look at the pace that you're running. So it almost feels like you can hit your top end paces at more moderate effort. And that's the biggest thing I've noticed with the Megablast is, you know, I went and did a float workout and then I tested it directly against some other shoes. And I noticed that my heart rate was lower, my perceived exertion was lower at similar paces while running in this shoe. So genuinely very, very fast, right, overall. And I think with the Megablast, I still don't think it's going to be the best shoe for short, fast intervals, right? I like something either a little bit lower to the ground or something with a plate with a little bit more snap. I want that actual feedback on foot, right? If I'm gonna be doing really fast, probably up to like 400 meter repeats, that's what I'm looking for. But once you get to those faster 800s, 1000s, 1200s, mile repeats, the tempo runs, the threshold runs, the float workouts, that's where I feel like the shoe really, really shines. And then obviously in long runs in general, you have a nice comfortable base that is also responsive, that's gonna keep you moving forward. So really like great overall feeling there. Moving to the outsole, you have the Asics Grip outsole, right? And I do feel like this is better than most Asics outsoles. I feel like it's doing a good job. You know, obviously reminiscent of the Novablast, which notoriously has had some slippery grip for some people. I will state it every time though. Disclaimer, like I never had issues in the Novablast 5. I didn't. Can't lie to you guys, right? Like I legitimately did not have slipping with it, but I recognize it wasn't the best outsole in the world. The Asics Grip rubber on the Megablast does seem to be a little bit better, a little bit grippier overall than some of their recent releases, which is really, really nice. I did run on some roads that had like sprinklers going. I ran when it was raining a little bit, so nothing crazy. It's not like I'm running in snow, not running through river crossings, but on wet roads, I didn't have any issues on foot with the Megablast. Now, as far as who's this shoe for, really, like, I mean, if you like the Blast lineup, like the Novablast, the Superblast, this is just another option kind of within that lineup. I think that personally this overtakes the Novablast for most things, and frankly the Superblast too. Like the Superblast was a little bit too firm for some. I really liked it even for easy runs, but I understand some people why the Superblast didn't work for them for easy runs. It was maybe too firm, right? And And it was a little bit narrow in the midfoot area, so maybe that, but while the Novablast tends to be a little bit wider. So this is kind of a really good blend between the Novablast and Superblast with better top end speed. So if you like both those shoes, but you felt like you wanted something a little bit faster, this is going to be firmer than the Novablast foam, which some people found squishy or mushy, right? So based on that, if you wanted something right in between the Novablast and Superblast, that's what you're getting here with more speed, right? Kind of bonus speed there. I think this could be an excellent race shoe, frankly, for a lot of people, right? People who don't want to use a carbon plate, right? They don't like how it feels on foot. They don't feel like they're quite ready for it for whatever reason, whatever it may be. This is a non-plated option, going to be a great race option from, frankly, 5K to marathon, right? Like depending on your level, depending on your preference, I think this could be a really good shoe. If you want a shoe that can do it all, you're a one shoe rotation type person, this is the one shoe rotation type shoe, right? Now you're paying $225 for it, which is very expensive, but if you think about it, you're using it for everything. That's where maybe the value is mostly justified. I don't know if that was the thought process with Asics, but you know, if it truly is a do everything for you shoe, then of course it makes sense that it would cost more because you're going to get more out of it over time. So that's kind of the audience for who this shoe is for, in my opinion. But yeah, just some final thoughts. Really, really enjoy the shoe. I think, you know, I'll do the full comparison between the Megablast and the Superblast, and I like a slightly firmer feel sometimes, and so for me, and like I didn't love the lockdown of the shoe. I talked about that. I didn't love the upper fit of the shoe despite liking the material overall. And so for me, you know, I feel like the Superblast is a better long run shoe for my preferences. I'm not saying overall, but this covers more of your bases. And so I feel like, you know, they really have a winner here. I just can't understand the positioning, to be honest, from a marketing perspective when it comes to, you know, the weight, the price, the foam, the experience. Like, it's said that this is kind of do everything, which is the lightweight trainer category. It weighs like the lightweight trainer category, but it's almost $100 more than the lightweight trainer category. And you know, it's a 50% increase in price compared to others in that category. Based on that, that's a hard sell, but someone commented on one of my videos recently and said, hey, who cares about the price? If someone loves the shoe, they love the experience, that's the shoe for them. It's going to be worth it to them. And that's kind of my thought on the Megablast. It's definitely a shoe I'm glad that I purchased. It's a shoe that I'm going to continue to enjoy a lot of miles in. And at the end of the day, if you love it and you got the cash for it, it's worth it. So, if you watched this far, I sure appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what questions you have about the shoe, what I could be doing better as a reviewer to make these more entertaining for each and every one of you. And also, quick plug, if you'd like to support the channel, please consider using any of the affiliate links below. And if you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on notifications so you get notified every time I drop a new video. Now, let's wrap it up with a question as always, which is, if you could price the Megablast and had to stay true to category and usage, how would you price this in today's market? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody.